right. I want to say we should be live. This is Nox on the very first episode of Vox Modus. Camera I see is trying to focus in and out here. Okay. So, my boy David's in the chat. Can you hear me? Am I good? Am I coming in good? So, today I'm going to be covering a interesting to me topic, which I came across after a visit to Universal Studios, Disney, and a few other theme parks. This first episode is going to have plenty of issues, and I'm okay with that because it's all learning experience, right? So, starting off, oh shit, what's up, Lucky Slacker? Starting off, I wanted to give the big clickbait part of the title, the Deadly Coaster clickbait. There is a coaster that has 100% fatality rate. It is engineered as such. But we're going to start with John Allen back in 1954 to 1971. He was the president of the Philadelphia Toboggan Company. And he had a quote that said, "The most effective coaster is one that 24 riders enter and 24 riders leave dead." I botched up that quote, but it's okay. This script was written on a crappy little sheet of paper. Nobody slow that down. You'll see my terrible handwriting. So this John Allen, I'm prefacing him because he's somebody from the 50s, an engineer of sorts that, not an engineer of sorts, he was an engineer, that he made a lot of coasters. One of them is still running to this day. It's the Sea Dragon at the Columbus Zoo in Ohio. And he's actually attributed as the man who reignited the coaster boom of the 1970s. He was huge on wooden coasters, which the public had a better interest or a bigger interest in steel coasters. So it was a pretty big deal in the 70s that wooden coasters were gaining acclaim because of his engineering. Sadly, he died in 1979 at the age of 72 after 25 coasters were attributed to his design. And so now we're moving forward, and maybe a little too quickly, to the real meat and potatoes that I want to get to. Julijonas Urbonas from Lithuania. He's a real smart guy. I don't have every single PhD that he has, but he's an artist, a designer, researcher, engineer, lecturer, writer, the current vice rector for art at the Vilnius Academy of Arts, and he's a PhD student in design interactions and Royal College of Art in London. Smart guy, not just somebody who decided, I want to make a death coaster, but he quite literally was some guy that said, I want to make a death coaster. He's worked in park development with his family's company, and he ran one in Lithuania for 3 years. The irony of the story here is that he doesn't actually like coasters. He gets motion sickness, and he finds the whole experience jarring. He's got a pretty cool TED Talk from 2010, where his death coaster caught critical acclaim. I will eventually get to the point where I'm going to add cool images and all that. Maybe I'll do some editing and turn this into a YouTube video. But the death coaster is pretty much by design, like I mentioned earlier, the only coaster that has a 100% fatality rate. And I'll explain the science, and not really the science, but rather the technical tidbits of it later. So if there's any engineers in the audience, you will be getting some nice little tidbits from that maybe make you go ooh and ah. Um, Real quick before I progress too much further, I'm gonna check up on the boys and see if they've got anything to say. And of course, David busting out a real nice design. Show that real quick. Again, this is just my first test run. I'm trying to find my cadence and feeding my baby. It's not too entertaining. You can put the volume down and just stare at my beautiful face. So I'm just trying to find the cadence and rhythm to my first podcast and podcast / stream. I've got a huge lack of sleep, but I'm doing it for the boys. What else before we get to the what other clickbaity things can I talk about before getting to the actual craziness of this thing? Oh, you don't have to be gentle. You can be rough. You can tell me how absolutely bad I'm doing at all of this, and I'll be like, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Also, the euthanasia coaster, I only have it's in kilometers. It's in metric. I did not do the proper American thing and convert metric to standard imperial. So, here's a few of the tidbits on this one. The dimensions are, in terms of height, it's 510 meters. The drop length is 500 meters, and the track length is 7,544 meters, which is, well, I really don't have a point of reference because I came into this pretty dry. It's supposed to have 120 seconds to the lift, 10 seconds to the drop, and within 60 seconds, you have an exposure to 10 Gs. Ride time 3 minutes and 20 seconds. That's actually longer than the Hulk. I do know that that's a 2-minute ride, 2:15. So you get a little more ride time than the Hulk. The one that this has over the Hulk is you actually die on this one. Sadly you don't die on the Hulk, but oh, I forgot to do the discretionary thing at the beginning of the video where it was warning, this topic may include a sensitive subject. Holy shit, I like that effect. You get glasses like that. Getting distracted. Warning, this may contain some ADHD, but also it's going to contain... Yes, I do have pictures of the euthanasia coaster. Although this may not be the best one, and this may not be the best medium, and of course I am correct. But you know what? Maybe I can use OBS to my advantage in a few minutes. Will that show up? Aha! That is the euthanasia coaster. And yes, this is a trigger warning. This is a very sensitive topic because it does deal with death. And maybe I didn't scroll down enough. No, I didn't. Bam, there's all those circles. Also, I guess I could be profane here. Cock rings! Alright, I got it out of me, I promise. There it is. So, great questions. I will get to those. So, don't Google it. You'll ruin the surprise. So, his idea was to make a euthanasia coaster. He calls it a love coaster, and the focus is to kill elegantly and pleasantly. So, essentially, in his mind, you get to the top of this coaster, and then you pick whether it's a yes or no. Like, yes, you definitively want to do this, or no, you want to back out. And At the fatal part, it actually goes 400 kilometers an hour. And what it's supposed to do is, with the vertical loops, it actually pulls down all of your blood down to your lower regions, being your feet and legs and penis. I promise it'll get a little more mature than that as it goes on. I'm getting it out of me. So what that does to your brain is it causes cerebral hypoxia, which essentially starves it for oxygen. It's a very fancy way of just saying your brain can't breathe. But what that does to you is, like when any gas fills your lungs and then your brain goes through the hypoxia, essentially like with helium. You can die from, in a pleasant way again, from inhaling helium. Just for this, actually, maybe that's like way too mature, but gas fills where oxygen and the other gases should, and because of that, the brain goes through hypoxia and suffocates. So what that does to your brain is you start getting tunnel vision, you start getting the weird, I think he called it like a gray feeling, and it makes you euphoric, and then you pass out, which has something to do with, the autoerotic things that some actors have died from. But what it all condenses to is a whole bunch of G's, blood goes down, you die peacefully. To answer your question, no, it's not a real coaster. He's so Julie Jonas Urbanus, he actually is because of everything that he is between artist, designer, and engineer, what he actually likes to do is make these. It blends art and science. So, well, I don't know. Did Bourdain? I don't know. Maybe. I feel bad because as a foodie, that was, if that is what happened to him, as out of the loop as I am. Um, he's that's a real shame. I looked up to him, but I guess that's one way to go. So a little more about the coaster and the little tidbits that I didn't have a sense or a chance to write down. Thanks to the marriage of the advanced cross-disciplinary research in aeronautics and space medicine, mechanical engineering, material technologies, and of course gravity, the fatal journey is made pleasant, elegant, and meaningful. So there goes to a little bit of philosophy between the making death a pleasant experience, and obviously it goes to the societal controversies of whether death should or could be something that, as sentient beings, we can choose. Obviously, we have, I think it's dolphins that are also intelligent enough to do themselves in. And this is actually a pretty loaded topic, surprisingly, but I didn't prepare quite to that extent. But if I could share my 2 cents on the roller coaster experience, there are some videos that I saw relating to it where somebody who was rich, again, this is a fantasy scenario where somebody who was rich decided to make the coaster because they had a terminal illness, and they decided to go out in a very pleasant manner. And I just noticed that this light is, or maybe my camera's not correcting for the amount of light. Can I fix that? No. Okay. Oh, that's what happens when I get too far back. Uh, Anyways, guy, ultra rich man decides to build this coaster and goes out in this kind of a way. To be honest, I would really like to go out in that way. I love roller coasters. I hate falls, like Doctor Doom's Drop of Death. I did not want to go on that. Hollywood Tower of Terror. I think there were some timing issues that I shat my pants. I quite literally was telling my friends, I'm like, oh, fuck it. It's a small drop. I'm just gonna put my hands up in the air, and the ride goes forward, and then it drops. So it went forward. I felt the heat go down, and I'm like, yeah, I got this. And as soon as I felt the first drop is nothing. I think it's like, I'm just gonna ballpark, maybe like 20 feet, 30, 50. I don't know. as soon as that first drop came, I hung on for dear life, and I'm like, holy shit, I don't like this at all. I don't fucking want to get off of this thing. Get me off! And then it went back up, but it was deceptive. It was absolutely deceptive. And I like eased up. I'm like, okay, and if that was the drop, that's nothing. I've got this. And then it did the real drop, and I'm like, and I did not enjoy that. But I braved it. I'm here. I'm doing this first episode, finding my structure to it, and I do appreciate the chat's convo with me, whether you're listening or not. I definitely appreciate that.